No matter where you go around the world, you won't find too many places that look like this. Right in the heart of Alabama is Birmingham. The once thriving industrial town is now home to a diverse range of industries. And of course, this amazing place, Barber Motorsports Park. It is simply beautiful, and it's quite extraordinary in the motorsports world, that's for sure. We'll talk more about that. It's one of the world's best motorsports museums, and it's one of the feature points here at Barber Motorsports Park. Welcome to qualifying for the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. Lee Diffie, Townsend Bell, and Wally Dallenbach is with us. Wally, great to have you back on the team. And I know it's very early on. There's only been 2 rounds of the Verizon Indycar Series this year. But what are your thoughts so far?
Certainly the rookies have been very impressive this year. These guys have done a spectacular job. And I mean, also I think the Ed Carpenter, Mike Conway story, that had to be a tough decision for Ed to step out of that car, put Mike in it for the road course races, but I'm telling you, the sponsors must be very, very happy with the results so far. And
here we go, just revising and reminding you of the qualifying rules. It is multi-phase, there's 3 rounds, but in this first round we have 2 groups. We divide them up, and that determines how we get to the next phase, which is the fastest 12 cars in this after the top 6 from each of those groups advance through to that second phase. And it leaves us with a very exciting Firestone Fast 6 to see who wins the pole. And Townsend, as we leave the street circuits, it's our first permanent road course of the year.
It is, and potentially our most critical qualifying session for the entire season. This Barber Motorsports track, it's beautiful, it's flowing, but because of its flowing nature, it does present very difficult situation for passing. So qualifying is everything here, and right now we're watching a field of drivers that is as tight as we've ever seen in this series. Interesting with Juan Pablo Montoya, we've seen him on Firestone Reds. I don't even think he went out on blacks to put one in the bag. I think he went straight out on the Reds to set a quick time.
Well, here's the deal. Juan Pablo Montoya, while he is the fastest at the moment, he is yet to crack it through and into the top 12. So he's determined to change that statistic next to his name right here this weekend. And here is the most recent winner. Wally was talking about him, Mike Conway, and he is on that softer compound Firestone Red as well.
And he's been wringing the neck of this Fuzzy's car in every practice session so far, but they really haven't been happy with the balance. And what happens here, again, because of the flowing nature of this track, those long duration corners, if you have an imbalance at the front or the rear, that end will fall away very quickly in terms of tire wear. So it'll be interesting to see if they fix that here for this session.
Yeah, interesting watching some of the onboard stuff. You could tell that so far, just on some of these guys' warm-up, how loose they. Wow, there's a big lock up. That's gonna kill that lap. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of high-speed oversteer. And like I say, Townsend, there's a lot of corners here where you're in these corners with lots of loads for a long time.
And we're going to see one right here. Here's Mike Conway trying to brake as deep as he can for the hairpin. Gets in too hot, locks up that left front. Keeps it on track, but as you said, that's going to really blow that time.
That's one of the signature turns here at Barber Motorsports Park, the hairpin, the 180-degree turn 5. Here's Charlie Kimball, who put in a fantastic drive here a year ago with that amazing pass. Do you remember it on Will Power late in the race when Power was trying to limp home? He was low on fuel, and this man, Charlie Kimball, was on the attack.
Oh, it was terrific. And talk about a guy that's trying to get his season started here at Barber. He's second to last in points, had an issue at St. Pete into the tires, an engine issue at Long Beach. He really hasn't even had his momentum started yet. He really needs a strong qualifying result in order to have a good race day.
And there's just 3 minutes to play. The rookie, Carlos Huertas, is in the lead at the moment over, well, and it's just changed. Sebastian Saavedra goes to the top.
I'll tell you what I'm seeing here, Wally, is a bunch of guys. The temperature at this track with the sun out, you can feel the heat. The track temperature is so strong that I think they get one lap right away. And you see everybody going for that first initial lap. We might get surprised here with a guy like Saavedra or Huertas really throwing one in there.
While we ride with Charlie Kimball, let's check in with Kelly Stavis. Kelly?
Well, I heard Townsend say Charlie Kimball really hadn't got his momentum started because of those poor finishes at St. Pete and Long Beach, but he kind of told me it was actually the opposite was true, that in spite of those bad finishes, they do feel a sense of momentum because they ran so well, particularly at Long Beach when he had gotten as high as 6th place before the engine let out. So he said he definitely wants to carry that here till today, and he said, in fact, we have nothing to lose because we are so down in the points. It gives us an opportunity to try some things and really push hard to go for a win.
And Kelly, in regards to tires, Townsend, you were talking about finding a sweet spot on these Firestone alternates or reds. Some of the drivers told me that they feel as though if they can get a little heat into the tires on the out lap, that the very next lap will be the sweet spot. It's not where you can run around for 2 or 3 laps and still have life in the tire. You hit the nail on the head. With these hot temperatures, you have to strike early.
Well, you know, if that's the case, Jan, as we think, then a guy like Juan Pablo Montoya that went out straight on reds, currently sitting P9 in this session, is really going to regret not hitting that sweet spot on that second lap. Here we are with Sebastian Bourdais. Now, we talked about Kimball's woes so far. This poor guy, 4-time champion in IndyCar, has really had a slow start to his season. 2 driver-made errors at Long Beach, the same mistake twice with the brake bias. He was incredibly critical of himself after that Long Beach event, and a huge pressure that he's put on himself this weekend to deliver for his hydroxy-cut guys.
But boy, the team are behind him. They're enjoying working with him. He just wants to really nail it. They were uncharacteristic mistakes, I have to say, at Long Beach. Self-induced errors, unforced errors, taking him out of the running when he was running up front in California. Sebastian Bourdais currently holds the 5th fastest time.
Last lap, P5, P1, 68.3.
And that P1 is Simon Pagenaud. Here he is. After 5 completed laps, there's only 30 seconds to go. It's Pagenaud and Power who duked it out at Long Beach a couple of weeks ago. Things are quite strained between those 2 guys. Castro Neves is 3rd, Munoz, Bourdais and Saavedra. Everybody else is on the outside looking in.
And this is exactly what we're going to love to see, if we can have a battle between Pagenaud and Power again here on race day. Right now, they currently sit 1st and 2nd, as you said, Lee, and Pagenaud is in. And clearly, those Firestone Reds good for maybe a lap, maybe 2.
Yeah, and they pulled him off right away because there's no, I mean, he was sitting 1st, and there's no reason to complete that lap. Saavedra trying to get one more in there, but he just smoked his left front. But he's in right now. Nope, as I said it, boom, he's out. Montoya jumps to 3rd.
Wow.
Quick.
This could be the first time that Juan Pablo Montoya advances through to the top 12. We'll have to wait and see. Time is finished, but flying laps count. That means Sebastian Saavedra is on. He has this one last chance to try and jump his way in.
I just don't see it with that lockup.
I am shocked that Montoya, with 6 laps on the tires, was able to go put another quick one in. Saavedra's going to try something similar here. Let's see what he gets. No. Does a 109.7, but boy, for Montoya to cool the tires, that's pretty important information for later on in this session, Ollie.
And the guy who won the 40th running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, Mike Conway, finishes last in that group and will not advance through to the Fast 12. How things can change within a matter of weeks. Qualifying for round 3, we're up and running. When the lights went out at Long Beach, the fight was on.
Ton of rain to the inside!
I didn't expect anything like that in the 4th.
Dixon and Wilson, who are duking it out. Oh, they hit!
That's him done.
Pagenaud in the tires at turn 6.
Chrome horn.
No respect. Really? Well, he should be angry. I'm surprised I didn't get a penalty.
We were very good friends until now, I guess.
Today at Barber Motorsports Park, putting the past behind will be difficult, as the history of this place has showed trouble before at the Augusta of Motorsports. The 144,000 square foot multi-story Barber Motorsports Park Museum. Vintage and modern motorcycles, race cars, just some of the most interesting vehicles you have seen. And it is the largest living motorcycle exhibit of vintage motorcycles in the world. And doesn't that give you a beautiful idea of what this venue looks like high above? Just fantastic. The detail in landscaping and just the general layout is incredible. And you know who else is liking this place? These guys, because they're advancing to the 2nd round of qualifying. They've made it through to the top 12, and it's the first time, guys, we see all 3 Penske's in the top 12.
Not only that, it's the first time I believe Montoya split his teammates in qualifying, right there with Will Power. And just before break, we talked about tires. Understand Montoya went with a 2nd set of reds to make that time happen.
And these guys will not be advancing. Right at the bottom there, our most recent race winner, Mike Conway. Time to hit the pits. Here's Kevin Lee.
Thank you, Lee. There's still quite a bit of conversation, frustration, and still some anger from incidents on track at Long Beach a couple of weeks ago. One of the most talked about is Ryan Hunter-Reay's pass attempt for the lead on Joseph Newgarden past the midpoint of the race that collected several of the front runners, including James Hinchcliffe, who called his teammates' attempt a rookie move. They've since talked, and Hinchcliffe says that he understands a little bit more after talking with Hunter-Reay and getting his perspective. Ryan says it's the heat of the moment, no issues with that. Now Hunter-Reay says, well, I was told that Newgarden was coming out on reds after that pit stop, and he was going to get up to temperature quickly and then would be difficult to overtake. And also, I had actually made a pass in that turn 4 section earlier in the race, but ultimately, it's my responsibility. I didn't get it done, but I'm a racing driver, and I'm going to take that chance if I have to, again, to win races. And he's got a good chance here this weekend. He won from the pole last year, and he was fastest in both practice sessions yesterday. Over to Jan Beekens.
And Kevin, anytime you talk about a natural terrain road course, the name that comes to mind, Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon, of course, has finished second here all 4 years, and he just has, the way you can see him work the wheel out on the racetrack, this kind of racetrack just suits his style. But the team has had a setback. They had an electrical problem in the very first practice, so he didn't do 5 laps. Well, if you don't do 5 laps in the first practice, you lose a set of tires. And Townsend has already mentioned tires are so key in qualifying. So at the moment, he is short 1 set for the weekend. Kelly?
Well, Jan, one of the rookies to keep your eye on here in Group B is the 7 car and the Russian Mikhail Aloshin. Now, even though he's been running about mid-pack throughout the practice sessions this weekend, he managed to turn a 20th starting position in Long Beach to a 6th place finish. Still, he wasn't satisfied with the top 10 in just his second Indycar start. He told me he expects to be running P1 and won't be happy until he's there. But he did acknowledge it's going to take a bit more experience and a bit more hard work until he's running up there with some of his more seasoned veteran peers. Now remember, he had never set foot in the U.S. prior to his IndyCar career, which means absolutely everything is new to him. New cars, new tracks, new people, even new food, but he seems to be adapting to it pretty well and could be on everybody's radar here pretty soon.
And Wally, you mentioned that's one of the things that's caught your eye this season so far is the rookie crop, and Mikhail Aloshin and 2 other rookies have finished 100% of the laps. Unfortunately, Jack Hawksworth has been caught up in a couple of incidents in the opening 2 rounds. Otherwise, he would have been well on target. All of our rookies would have finished 100% of the laps so far.
I mean, and that's incredible, really, if you think about all the laps they've completed. So, I mean, yeah, these guys are jumping in cars, and they're doing a great job right off the bat. And they're gaining these other drivers' respect right off the bat, which is, you know, sometimes takes a lot longer.
The order is this man, Mikhail Aloshin, after 2 laps completed. He's fastest. James Hinchcliffe, who holds the, as we go on board with the mayor of Hinchtown, he holds the fastest time from all of the combined practice sessions. And he had a spin right here on pit entry there earlier today. No major incident, didn't hit anything, and was able to just make his way back into the pits. And he posts the 2nd quickest time early in this session.
Now, Hitch is a guy I'm looking for a mega lap time out of from this session. He just went to P2 on blacks. Everybody else around him did their quick time on reds so far. He's going to put his Firestone reds on now and see what he can do in this thing.
Radio. We're not going to take some time to do download here.
Tony Kanaan, who has had somewhat of a troublesome weekend, just hasn't been able to find the speed.
I mean, troublesome lead. He was a 2nd off Scott Dixon in practice. Massive balance issues. I talked with TK and with Dixon yesterday about setup. You know, always curious, are they on the same setup? How different are they? And really, they're on completely different setup strategies. And I think we might be seeing an example here where you go to what your teammate has and say, listen, my deal's not working. I got to go with what Scott has. He's quick.
Well, you hear about the highs and lows of racing and the seesaw nature of it. Mike Conway, Kelly knows all too well how that feels.
Yeah, certainly not the way he's wanted to start his weekend following that brilliant win at Long Beach. But Mike, your car's been struggling all weekend. What are you lacking here today?
Just had an issue going down to 5. Just had a huge lock up on my first lap, and that just destroyed the tires. So that's the reason why we're so far down.
Well, you guys have seemed to be able to pull things out for Sunday. Are you confident this team can regroup and make the most of it tomorrow?
Yeah, you know, push as hard as we can, as always, in the race, and see where we end up.
Thank you.
He's had a couple of tough blows because after that wonderful victory in Long Beach, Wally, he flew across the Atlantic to Silverstone in the UK for the opening round of the World Endurance Championship. Unfortunately, the LMP2, the prototype car he was meant to drive, the funding, the sponsorship didn't come off. They couldn't field that entry. So he was a spectator last weekend before returning to the US this weekend.
Yeah, and Townsend and I were talking about this yesterday. This type of racetrack is such a momentum type of a racetrack that we were saying if you make one little mistake, you don't make it up here. You just can't get that time back. And that's exactly what happened to Mike there. He had that lockup, and you basically have to start the lap over, although in his case, he trashed the tires.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're learning here is literally there's one lap to get. So you make a mistake on that one lap, you're always on a tightrope driving these race cars. But even more so in qualifying, you're on that one lap. It's your one chance where the rubber's perfect, maximum grip. You've got to nail everything to make the top 6, but one little mistake and you're all the way at the back. That's why he's dejected.
Did you hear that radio transmission there to Takuma Sato, engineer Don Halliday and Larry Foyt calling the shots for Takuma Sato? And the reason why they were telling who's in front and who's behind, and why that's pertinent for Sato, he was penalised here last year for blocking Justin Wilson during qualifying. Sato actually made the Firestone Fast 6 and then was bounced out because of that just impeding Wilson's progress.
Well, it's an important thing to monitor and regulate because, again, get that one lap, you get held up on your one lap, you're done, you're out. And it's not fair to the other guys. If you've caused that, you should be penalized.
Joseph Newgarden has had a very productive weekend as far as promising signs, picking up where he left off before that crash in Long Beach of 2 weeks ago. He's in the top 10 speed-wise this weekend. This guy, James Hinchcliffe, has looked fast all weekend.
And he is fast right here. This is where his teammate, Ryan Hunter-Reay, always struggles to match him on pace, is in that 13-14 complex right there. He's smoking faster there. Let's see what he gets at the line. First lap on ready, goes to P1.
Straight to the top for the Canadian. So it's Hinchcliffe, Newgarden, Aloshin, Sato, Rahal, and Briscoe with just a minute and a half remaining. You've got to be in that top 6. On the outside looking in at the moment is Briscoe. He's just got bounced. And now it's changing because Wilson's jumped in there. On board with Graham Rahal. Rahal holds the 7th quickest time. He's on a fast one here. Let's see if it's fast enough.
Hunter-Reay jumped up to 3rd, so he was out, and he's now in.
And Graham goes slower, about a 10th and a half slower than the previous lap. Now on board with Scott Dixon through the fast section.
Watch for the white line. The line cuts right there. So what does it do for Scott Dixon? He jumps up to 4th. Good run.
And that bumps Justin Wilson out. Takuma Sato right now in the bubble.
It's Hinchcliffe. Aloshin goes to 2nd. Newgarden, Hunter-Reay, Dixon and Sato. 44 seconds left. This is pressure cooker stuff, and Marco Andretti is last at the moment. Can the Andretti Autosport driver do something? He goes 4th. Nice run.
Wow, fantastic run for Marco Andretti ahead of his teammate Hunter-Reay.
Boy, this is a thrilling section of the track. Up and over and down again. And let's see what Joseph Newgarden does. He's 3rd quickest. Hinchcliffe, Aloshin, Newgarden, Andretti, Hunter-Reay, and Dixon. Dixon's on the bubble. Sato is out at the moment. And Justin Wilson is 8th.
I think that's about all he could get out of that set of tires here. Now,
here's Ryan Briscoe, currently sits in P10 with a 109.2. He needs to nail this section right here. He's going to come across the line. I don't know if he can get it done.
Ryan Briscoe does not improve and does not advance. Time is up. Flying laps count. Mikhail Aloshin, the 26-year-old Russian rookie, sets the 2nd quickest time. That means both Schmidt, Peterson, Hamilton cars are in. This is the SMP Racing entry. But both of them in. Pagenaud was quickest in Group 1 and Aloshin 2nd quickest in Group 2.
And look at Tony Kanaan. He is 1 full second off the quick time. And man, that's got to be a massive disappointment.
Yeah, I think like you said, it's time to put a totally different setup under that car.
But you know, you have such little practice time now, Wally. 45 minutes to find each practice session in Indycar, and you go down that path. You know what it's like. You commit to that setup path, and it's not just maybe springs or dampers. It can be geometry. It can be a whole bunch of things as a package. And oftentimes you get to Saturday morning practice and you realize, oh boy, we're in a hole. And then do you then take the chance to bolt on something so unfamiliar for a couple laps in qualifying?
If I'm a second off right now, I'm bolting on something totally different for tomorrow.
I'm right behind you. I am right behind you.
The National Guard entry for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan of Graham Rahal does not advance to the fast 12. He sets the 9th quickest time in Group 2. And how about the Ganassi team. 4 drivers, only 1 advances. That's Scott Dixon. But James Hinchcliffe, the quickest in Group 2. And we'll see him in the top 12 coming up. We're in the middle of qualifying here at Barber Motorsports Park. Qualifying, of course, for the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama. That's tomorrow, race day. And you can see the 3rd round of the Verizon Indycar Series at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on NBCSN. Well, who is in and who is out? Look at this. The 2 guys who were angry with each other 2 weeks ago in California are the top 2 on times. Montoya good, Castro Neves in, Munoz, the quiet rookie, does his talking on the track, and Bourdais advancing as well.
And how about Marco Andretti? Great run for him to split his teammates Hunter Ray and Hinchcliffe. He's been behind so far this year, but making up now in qualifying. And Aloshin, super impressive again.
And Wally, some guys not making the cut through to the top 12, and there are some big names there. Take a look at this. Look all the way towards the bottom. Brian Briscoe, Graham Rahal, and Tony Kanaan didn't make it either.
Yeah, like I said, these guys got some homework to do. They're obviously got, they got that warm-up session tomorrow, but yeah, they're going to be searching for some grip here.
Look at that.
See, Tony Kanaan, like I said, these guys got to make some big changes because they're not even. I mean, they're not even close to being in the hunt. Conway, you look at and say, oh well, he's 21st, but if really he feels that mistake or that lockup cost him, I think he may be a lot better in the race.
Looking forward to the next phase of qualifying. It's the top 12, where 6 will advance to the Firestone Fast 6, and the other will not. For Tony Kanaan, qualifying in Alabama is over, and he knows he's got some work to do. Back to Barber Motorsports Park in a moment. The next phase of qualifying is underway here at Barber Motorsports Park for the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama on a beautiful day in the south. And now things start to get a little more serious. However, not that way for Tony Kanaan, right, Jan?
Well, they get serious in a different way, because something we never expected was Tony Kanaan not only did not transfer, but over a second off the pace of that group. What went wrong?
We've been struggling all weekend, and then we tried something completely different for this session, and obviously it didn't work. So I really feel bad for the Target boys. We, that's not a place we want to start, but I've been there before, and I just got to try to keep everybody's spirits up. And there's still a long race to go, so anything can happen. We have at least a couple teammates that are pretty strong, so we probably going to go to their setup and go race tomorrow.
You mentioned teammates, and Scott Dixon did transfer, but now is in 7th. Does he have a similar setup?
No, not for this car right now that I had in qualifying. So obviously we tried. The beauty of having 4 cars, you can take a risk. Obviously, I took a big hit on it. I don't remember the last time I really was struggling that much in a road course, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm always looking forward to tomorrow, and we're making it exciting for you guys. I can pull one of my starts that it's been a long time I haven't done one.
Absolutely. We know one thing: Tony Kanaan can pass cars. Robin?
Well, Jan, when Montoya left NASCAR and came back to open wheel racing where he belongs, there were 2 schools of thought. He's going to be the guy he was when he left kart for Formula One. He's going to win races. He's a take no prisoners guy. He's going to be spectacular. The other train of thought: he's 38, 39 years old. He's too old. He's been out of an open wheel car too long. He's going to struggle. Well, right now it's probably somewhere in the middle. But he's got the best attitude overall. He's like, look, I'm back where I want to belong. I don't want to race 36 times a year. It's going to take me a while to learn these cars. I'm still making way too many mistakes. But he said, don't count me out. Give me about 5 or 6 races, and I think I can win one of these things. And I said, well, I hope so, because I bet Franchini $1,000 you'd win twice this year.
Robin Miller there. We hadn't heard from Robin in the show before. Great to have you with us again, Robin. And Juan Pablo Montoya, you saw come into the pits. He holds the 2nd fastest time at the moment. There's Mikhail Aloshin, who holds the fastest time at the moment.
Yeah, with Montoya, you see them putting on the used first set reds from Group 1, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see if he can pull a rabbit out of the hat. It's going to be awfully difficult to do that.
Yeah, I think you were talking about the sweet spot. I think the sweet spot's gone from both sets of his tires right now, so that's probably the time that he posted is probably going to be it.
I mean, look at how well grained those are just from the 2 or 3 laps that he did in that first session.
It's his first appearance in the top 12. We'll see what he can do. If he can keep that spot, if he can advance to the Firestone Fast 6 for the first time in 2014. Here's Joseph Newgarden, and as he builds to speed, let's check in with Kevin.
Joseph was cautiously optimistic going into qualifying today. He said the car is mediocre, not bad. They were working on the balance, but he did radio in during that first session that the rears are much better. They also went a half turn up on the front wing, and we'll see what Joseph Newgarden can come together after at Long Beach getting his best qualifying performance, or at least matching it when he qualified fourth at Long Beach.
Less than 3 minutes remaining, so time is short. 6 will make it, 6 will not. Who are they going to be? At the moment, Aloshin, Montoya, Hunter-Reay, Newgarden, Andretti, and Hinchcliffe will all be in, but you know that's going to change by the second.
Let's see how Newgarden does here at the hairpin. Nice and clean and tidy. I think this might be his kind of safety lap, and then he's going to go for one more. But, well, like we've talked about, I'm not sure you have a chance to do 2 laps. So.
And Townsend, I can tell you from the splits, this is not a safety lap for Newgarden. At the moment, he is 9/10 of a second faster than his personal best, so he's trying to string this one together.
There it is. We see 4/10 up right now over Aloshin, so he's on pace for P1. Maybe a safety lap for Newgarden is just so smooth it looks that way, because right now he's just nailing it.
And he's got a couple of cars in front of him, so I'm not sure he's going to even want to do that next lap, because he does go to the top of that lap. So,
and by a large margin too, Wally. That was very productive for Joseph Newgarden. So the order changes, and it changes again because Helio Castro-Neves goes to second. So it's Newgarden, Castro-Neves, and there's guys on hot laps everywhere.
You can see at the top of your screen, everybody is on pace right now.
Good job there, bud.
With the green box that you see, here comes Castro-Neves.
How about Sebastian Bourdais? Does he do anything?
you got to think Hinchcliffe, Bourdais are out now. Bourdais is in.
Fourth.
Montoya, that was sitting in second just a few minutes ago, is now sitting, about ready to get bumped out. You've got Ryan Hunter-Reay there.
How about this man here, Simon Pagenaud, out of the museum turn, turns 9, 8 and 9, and then the stretch up the back. Carlos Munoz, the rookie for Andretti Autosport, posts the second quickest time. So it's Newgarden, Munoz, Montoya goes to 3.
Wow. Goes back up. That's pretty impressive.
It is very impressive. And for Simon Pagenaud, he locks in 5th place time, less than a minute to go. Newgarden, Munoz, Montoya, Castro-Neves, Pagenaud, and Aloshin. Will Power goes from last to first.
Wow, 108.37. He just nicks Newgarden. A guy that needs to get in now is Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's been fastest in the first 2 practice sessions, and he sits currently in P10. There he is.
Hinchcliffe got himself in.
Dixon goes to 5.
Yep.
Pressure on the defending winner here at Barber Motorsports Park. This man here, Ryan Hunter-Reay, went from pole to victory lane last year. Turns 13 and 14. Incredibly quick section of the track right here. What does he do? 6th. RHR right there with 10 seconds to go. Remember, 6 in, 6 out. Firestone Fast 6 coming up. Power, Newgarden, Castro-Neves, Hinchcliffe, Dixon, and Hunter-Reay. Montoya has been pushed out.
And checkered flag is out. Now this is Aloshin still on a flyer. I believe he made it to the line, so this lap will count. And also for Bourdais, who's given it everything to try to get into that top 6.
Bourdais, he had a crash in the opening practice session down near the museum. It was nothing that damaged the car greatly. However, he's out of it. He is out of it.
Yeah, I'm done.
He says, I'm done, and he's been quick all weekend.
I was just going to say that. I can't believe I expected him to be top 2 or 3 in this session.
But guys, don't forget, when you throw the reds on, you just don't know what you're going to get balance-wise. It really throws everybody for a loop every weekend. That unpredictability makes it fun for us, but massively frustrating for the drivers when you think you've got everything sorted.
That's going to be really frustrating for him and Pagenaud, for that matter.
Scott Dixon keeps his amazing run going. He makes it to the Firestone Fast 6. He's qualified in the top 5 here every year, and he's got another shot at doing it. But for Will Power from Team Penske, he was last. He finishes that session first. Can he grab pole? We'll find out. Just 1/100th of a second separated Will Power and Joseph Newgarden between first and second. But that was in the top 12. Now things get very serious with the Firestone Fast 6. Let's have a look at it. Power and Newgarden, I told you about those guys. Castro Neves and Hinchcliffe advance. Scott Dixon and Ryan Hunter-Reay. We've got some news on Ryan Hunter-Reay. I'll tell you about that just in a moment. And these guys narrowly missed out. For Carlos Munoz, he missed out by 0.04 of a second.
Oh, I mean, from like 3rd place down to 10th place, we're talking just a 10th and a half, let's say to 9th. But Montoya's the guy I'm looking at. Went out on scuffed reds, did a 108.6. I really feel like he is awfully close to his old form.
The news about Ryan Hunter-Reay I alluded to. Race Control are looking into Sebastian Bourdais impeding the 2012 Series champion. We'll follow up on that story as we get ready to see who will grab the Verizon P1 award. It's the Firestone Fast 6 coming up here on NBCSN. Gorgeous day here in Birmingham, Alabama for qualifying day. And we're into the final phase. It's the Firestone Fast 6 coming up. One man who is in and one who is not give us a pretty interesting story. Ahead is Sebastian Bourdais, and look at this. He just hits the brakes, slows right down. Not aware that Ryan Hunter-Reay is flying up behind him. And look at Hunter-Reay's frustration when they enter pit lane.
Yeah, you know, I think it's one of those situations where Bourdais came across the line on his previous lap, probably totally dejected that he was not going to make the Fast 6 after being so quick in practice. And then there's this huge letdown, right? Because you feel like the pressure's over of qualifying and you're relaxing on the in-lap. You got to remember, though, guys are coming at speed still, trying to still put in a lap.
And he being that man on screen there, Sebastian Bourdais, will be penalised for that, for impeding the progress of Ryan Hunter-Reay. Now, with that being said, Hunter-Reay did make the Firestone Fast 6, but it does not help Bourdais' situation heading into tomorrow's 90-lap Grand Prix of Alabama, Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, I should say. So let's see what the defending winner can do. And again, I don't think that a good result for Bourdais is far away. I mean, I think all the ingredients in the mix are there. Just got to put them all together.
Well, but he's been pushing awfully hard so far this weekend. There's been a number of small little mistakes, a few small offs, and I think it's just representative of the pressure that he's put on himself after coming out of the gate with, you know, a less than desirable result at St. Pete and at Long Beach. He's really feeling like, man, I've got the car and the team here. It's on me. Yeah. But I'm not quite sure they're already all the way there. But here's who is all the way there right now. Will Power, our points leader.
Championship leader to the tune of 27 points over Mike Conway, who will start, if you've just joined us, towards the end of this field tomorrow. He and Tony Kanaan having really frustrating qualifying sessions. For Will Power, he comes into the Firestone Fast 6 the quickest out of the 12. Let's see what he can do. Of course, he has a wonderful history here. There's only been 4 years of IndyCar history at Barber Motorsports Park, and Power has won 2 of those years, and he's put this car on pole for the first 2 years of the Verizon IndyCar Series coming to this racing venue. He likes it. He performs well. Remember, he did a lot of his racing in Europe, his formative years in Australia, but then he went to Europe, and this is a very European-style racetrack. It suits Will Power for sure. Kevin?
Sebastian Bourdais qualified 11th. You're going to actually start 12th, penalized for, as I understand it, impeding Ryan Hunter-Reay. Tell me your version and your view of the on-track incident.
That's my bad. I guess I looked in the mirror when I backed out in my 3rd lap on Reds, and I didn't see anyone, and the guys didn't tell me that Ryan was coming, and I checked another time, didn't see him again. So I basically brought the car back to the pits, like, 5 seconds off the pace or something like that around the lap, which I didn't think was super slow. But all of a sudden I checked in the mirrors in the pit lane and he was right on my bumper. I'm like, where are you coming from? So yeah, that's my bad, I guess. I was just still trying to understand why we're that much slower than the previous session, and the car felt not as good as this morning, but we'll just try and get that hydroxy machine fixed for tomorrow.
Is it just a matter of you're guessing on the Reds because you were very fast on the blacks?
Yeah, I think the car seems to be very competitive on the blacks, and for some reason we're missing something on the Reds. So it's always the same thing, you can't work on the car on the Reds, you throw them in qualifying, and it didn't work out for us.
All right, thank you. Sebastian Bourdais has been very fast all year. He's looking for a result now this weekend.
And Towns and I said, look at this, Bourdais hits the brakes. I meant that metaphorically, but you said, you just kind of finish your lap, you're a bit dejected, and you just cruise. And do you almost get into like a little zone where you're not fully aware of what's around yourself?
Yeah, you know, I have the same thing at Indianapolis where, you know, your fourth qualifying lap's over. There's just a huge kind of release, and then on your in lap, you're processing. He's, you know, what Bourdais saying is he's thinking about the setup. What are we missing? What do we need? You're not thinking about looking in your mirrors, although I promise you at the next road course, you might think about that a little more. He only lost one position. Good news is he's fast on black tires. That's going to be critical because these reds are going to go away in a hurry in the race, Wally, if it's as hot as it is today.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that if you want to be fast, I think you're looking to be on the black. So it's just hard, like you said earlier. Track position's pretty important at this race, and if you qualify in the back like that, it's really, really difficult to pass cars. It takes a long time to pick your way through here.
So Ryan Hunter-Reay told to go out, do this, and then pit at the end of this lap, so we will see. The guy's not making the most of the time at the moment, but that's just the nature of the Firestone Fast 6. We see a thrilling final couple of minutes and closing minutes in this session to determine who will start on pole and who will start on the front row. Speaking of Andretti Autosport, here is Hunter-Reay's teammate James Hinchcliffe in the United Fibre and Data entry. And you remember Hinch here last year? Unfortunately, the Canadian, after coming off his very first career victory in St. Petersburg, Kevin, he sat on the sideline. He sat in the middle of the racing track for almost the entire race. Hinch wants to change that little piece of history this year.
Yeah, he said that was really interesting radio conversation as the guys on the stand tried to keep him entertained and up with the race. And he said eventually realized, oh, people can hear us. We might want to pipe down a little bit. He seemed like the pick coming in to qualifying today. Incredibly fast on the blacks, but as we've talked about, the guess on the reds, he said this car is fast. It's just about execution, and clean laps are key. Keep in mind, James Hinchcliffe has run at the front for several seasons now and started second multiple times, but is looking for his first pole in Indycar. He's got a great chance today.
And I asked Hinch about, you know, kind of being in the hole, and he laughed. He's like, what hole? You mean that I'm dead last? And I said, yeah. You know, dead last in the championship. I said, do you look to base hit your way out of this, or are you looking for just that big weekend? And, you know, he answered very candidly. He said, listen, I'm under no illusions that I'm going to take an 8th place car and try to win it. So what I get. I'm going to try to maximize it as we always do. And I think that's the smart approach this weekend.
Encouraging words there from the pit box. Good job. He goes to position number 2. Let's enjoy this ride with Joseph Newgarden. Boy, that's a challenging section, Wally.
Yeah, I mean, you see how fast that is. The world just drops from underneath their feet. And you can see how much he struggles with the steering wheel. You really got to drive the car through there. Very physical set of corners. And you just look at how much these guys are in the corner. It's just so much load. They carry so much speed, and you see the little bit of oversteer. I mean, these things are right on the ragged edge.
To give you an indication of how close things are at the moment with less than 3 minutes remaining. A 1/10 of a second, that's it, separates the top 4. Power, Hinchcliffe, Hunter-Reay and Newgarden. A 1/10. That's how tight things were. We told you about Carlos Munoz missing out on advancing to the Firestone Fast 6 by 0.04 of a second.
Now he's going to try another lap here, but you can see that he's already slower just in that first segment, and that's what we continue to hammer home here is these red tires. You get that one magic lap window where they're just right, just ready to go, and everything after that, you can see here a 10th down in every corner. It just continues to sort of wither away.
And you know, you can feel that, Townsend. You don't even have to have the team tell you. When you run that lap and you start that next lap, you could feel those tenths slip away from underneath your, in the steering wheel.
And looking at that level of degradation, the race is going to be phenomenal tomorrow because these guys have to run a stint on these reds, and that's going to be a really critical strategy piece for when you run those. And he certainly didn't get that done on that lap.
And certainly, Townsend, I think these guys are realizing that you're not going to be able to be really super aggressive on these reds. You're going to have to take care of them if you're going to run on a whole stint on them.
Now, talking about taking care of reds, I see a little bit of debris coming off of Castro Neves' tires there. I'm not sure if he had an issue straight out of the pits on his out lap. Let's find out.
This is turn 5. Yet again, it's a key spot.
Oh, boy. Just like Mike Conway did in the first qualifying session. Locked that left front. And, you know, he's wide on the grass because he doesn't want to hold the brake pedal on. He knows he's going to blow that corner, but he thinks, I got to get off the brake pedal, keep the tire rolling. Maybe I can save the reds for just one more lap, and this will be the lap here if he can keep it together.
1 minute remaining as we go aboard with Scott Dixon. 4 consecutive second-place finishes here at Barber Motorsports Park. Can he crack it finally? He goes to 5th fastest, so it's Power, Hinchcliffe, Hunter-Reay, Newgarden, and Dixon. And he pits.
And look at all of these guys are doing essentially just one flying lap, and they're coming straight in to try to save those reds. Castroneves really limped it after that mistake. He did a 1 minute 15-second lap to see if he can hang on for a second attempt without using up the rubber on the rest of the corners.
And I would be, is he still on a second attempt? I'd be surprised, because when you get debris on on tires like that, it's hard for them to come back.
But he only went
for a flyer.
He only went through the first 2 or 3 corners hard before he made that mistake. So if he did back out of it, look at that. He's less than a 10th off Will Power. So he's on pace right now to get a chance at the pole.
And now drops a little bit. It's going away from the Brazilian. Trying the best with 10 seconds to go. Power is on top. Remember, Power's starting position so far this year, 4th and 14th. This could be Power's best of the new 2014 season. And that's it for Helio Castroneves. Time is out. This counts for Ryan Hunter-Reay as he heads into the museum complex. 0.3 of a second down on Will Power.
Not going to happen there. And Castroneves, that was a 108.6, only 0.3 off pole. Man, he'd love to have that first lap back, Wally.
Yeah. Yep.
I think this guy right here is going to be so strong tomorrow on blacks. His pace has been excellent in practice over long runs.
So, Will Power on the pole at the end of the Firestone Fast 6. That makes it 3 out of 5 years here at Barber Motorsports Park. The man who drives the Verizon Chevrolet for Roger Penske is on pole. And more impressively, for the 33rd time in his Indycar and open wheel career, he starts from the pole position. Power is the man. Qualifying is complete here at the Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama. You know, there's only one driver in this field so far this year who's finished on the podium both races. There's one man who's dominated qualifying also at this race as far as IndyCar's concerned, and he's on pole again. That driver is Will Power. Let's hear from him.
And as you mentioned, Lee, this is the 33rd pole for Will Power. I know that's so gratifying on such a physically demanding course, but you told me this morning you didn't like the car. You thought it was snappy, but it must have worked on the reds.
It was a bit better on the reds for sure. I mean, it always locks the rear down a little bit, but yeah, we're pretty determined to get it done. But in my mind, I knew that the car, if I just was really gentle with it, that I could make it work. So yeah, really happy to get poles. It's been a long time since on pole on a road or street course, so pretty determined to get it here because it definitely helps in the race.
Great job for Will Power. So interesting in such a physical track to hear him say, I had to be gentle with it.
James Hinchcliffe will start second for the 6th time in IndyCar. Still looking for that first pole. You parked it a little bit early. Tell us why.
You know, we honestly didn't realize everyone else was going to do that. So I'd like to say it was a big smart move. But at the end of the day, you know, tomorrow's going to be a tire race, and having one less run on one of our sets of reds, I think, you know, is an advantage. So no one hipped us doing that, so I think it was the right call. And, you know, I'm just really proud of the team because 4 Andretti Autosport cars in the top 10 is huge. United Fiber and Data Car up on the front row for the 2nd race in a row means a lot. And we've been quick all weekend. It was nice to put it together. It's tough throwing on those red tires and not knowing what to expect and saying, hey, you've got one lap, because that's all they're good for is one lap, and getting the job done. So big credit to the boys, and happy to have a good starting position for tomorrow.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
James Hinchcliffe looking forward to jump-starting his season tomorrow, Lee.
And Kevin Hinch told me after Long Beach, he said, what a way to throw away a great race. Well, guess what? Just like Long Beach 2 weeks ago, he starts on the front row and has a real chance.
He certainly does. Now, look at this. Big teams, Andretti, Penske, Ganassi, and then there's Joseph Newgarden with Sarah Fisher Racing. A one-car team continues to just do an outstanding job.
Yeah, Joe, I'll tell you what, this kid's going to break into victory lane here pretty soon. Did a really nice job at Long Beach last year. Look at Montoya. This is a good run for him. Probably, it's the best qualifying run for him. I think some disappointment, Pagenaud, Bourdais. Those are two guys I really expected to be in the Fast Six.
And I don't think Marco Andretti will be disappointed where he's starting, given the fact of where he's been running all weekend, which is towards the tail of the field.
Now, talk about disappointment. The rest of these guys, I mean, you can make an argument for a podium for them out of any race weekend. It's so tight. It's so tough. I mean, a Justin Wilson, a Takuma Sato, who led the points for much of last year. Then, of course, Tony Kanaan. The last time we saw him start last was the Indy 500. He passed half the field on the first lap. Not sure if that's going to happen tomorrow.
I'm just wondering, and we're just going to see what happens if these guys are, some of these cars are really good on reds, if they're going to fall to pieces once they get back on the blacks and vice versa.
Going to be interesting tomorrow, isn't it?
Absolutely. I'm not going to want to miss it. I'll be here.
Reminding you to stay with us here on NBCSN, because coming up next, it's Barclay's Match of the Day with the English Premier League. But be sure to join us tomorrow at 2:30 Eastern, of course, for the Honda Indy Grand Prix of Alabama, where that man there, Ryan Hunter-Reay, won last year. Can he do it again? For more on the Verizon Indycar Series, log on to NBCSports.com. There was plenty to talk about from this qualifying session. The main headline, Will Power wins the Verizon P1 Award. We'll see you tomorrow.